This is a HeadGum podcast.
This episode of the Jeff Rubin Show is brought to you by Lonely and Horny, a new original video series from Jake and Amir. You know Jake and Amir, of course, from the many years they spent putting together their college humor series, also called Jake and Amir. But now they've got a new thing, and what I love about this series is that they really leveled up and made something cool and ambitious. This is not just another series of short, funny internet videos. That would be great, but this is actually something almost more interesting. It's something better, where they're kind of like between web videos and a full 22-minute TV sitcom, and it's kind of got the best parts of both. And it's almost like a new form, and it's really great. And Jake and Amir, really innovated in a lot of ways, like short-form web video, and it's so cool to see them pioneering. I'm so proud. I mean, can I say I'm proud? I'll say I'm proud. I'm proud. I'm legit proud to see them once again pioneering new ground. I mean, I'm like sort of legally obligated to watch the first one because I've known these guys for years and they're friends and we work together. So I had to watch the first one just to be polite. But what I did not have to do is then binge watch the rest of them. That means I'm genuinely enjoying it. And I think you're going to like it too. And here's the best part. You do not have to take my word for it. Check out the first episode for free on College Humor's YouTube page. Then, if you like what you see, go to vimeo.com/lonely and horny. Use coupon code HEADGUM for 15% off. That's vimeo.com/lonely and horny. Coupon code HEADGUM for 15% off. And enjoy it yourself. Let me know what you think. Oh, one more thing. Before we get started, I want to quickly thank Ben Hargreaves, who wrote in and suggested this week's guest. It was a great suggestion, and I think about an hour from now, you'll agree too. If you can think of someone you would like to hear on this show, let me know about it. That's what Ben did. Best way to reach me is on Facebook, on Twitter, or via email. You can get all those links at jeffrubinshow.com. I will mention them again at the end of the show. But no more delays. Let's get it started. Hey everybody, welcome to the Jeff Rubin Show. Today we are talking to Robert Santoli, who just a few weeks ago turned in one of the greatest Wheel of Fortune performances of all time. Welcome to the show, Robert.
Thank you very much for having me, Jeff.
Now, for those that haven't seen it, I don't really know how to describe this other than to say, I guess I can't describe it. Pause the episode. I've never done this to introduce someone, but I think straight up pause the episode, go on the internet, and search for Robert's incredible game, Wheel of Fortune, which is what Wheel of Fortune themselves posted the clip as. The clip is just a minute or two, and you really got to see this. Because, Robert, you'd had... I don't think this is the greatest haul in Wheel of Fortune history.
Definitely not.
But it was one of the most, and I don't know exactly how you would measure this, one of the most dominating performances. Does that sound like a fair way to describe it?
I would think so. I didn't solve every single puzzle on the show. There was one that I did not get. There have been a few people who have solved every puzzle, including the bonus round.
And for those... maybe don't have the internet and they can't go look at it right now. So you solved every puzzle, but you solved them very, very early on, to the point where, it's actually quite impressive. So now that we're all caught up, now that everyone knows what the deal is, Robert, I get the sense watching you on the show that you are not a wheel novice. How long have you been watching the show?
Pretty much my whole life. I mean, I'm 23, and I can remember watching the show as early as 96, but apparently I've been watching it my whole life.
As a kid through present day?
Yes.
Every day?
Well, not like every single day, literally, but whenever I can. I mean, it's actually about to come on right now over here, but I don't really mind missing it now and then.
Thank you. I mean, I appreciate that you're missing, not only doing this, but missing Wheel to do it. I mean, you see multiple episodes in a given week. You see multiple episodes of Wheel of Fortune, you would say.
Yeah.
And what is it? Just Wheel of Fortune, or is it other game shows?
Well, I don't really have a lot of time to watch as much TV as I used to. Wheel's like the one that's always there. I do watch Jeopardy right before it every now and then. I don't really have that much time to watch the other game shows, though. But whenever I can, I do. In terms of other than game shows, not really so much anymore. There really isn't much. I don't really watch TV much anymore. I watched TV a ton when I was a kid, but all those shows have come and gone. I used to watch Nickelodeon all the time. In addition to game shows, I'm actually a really big aficionado for classic Nickelodeon. And I saw you interviewed Maura Quirk from Guts once. I love her.
Oh yeah, you're on the right podcast. We've got a lot of Nickelodeon episodes. Mo was great. We talked to Kirk Fogg from Legends of the Hidden Temple.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that Legends TV movie coming out.
Right. It's great that's just like still a part of his life. And just a few weeks ago, not to plug the podcast to you, the guest, but we just had 3 people who someone else in their class won the Nickelodeon Takes Over their school contest. So they came and talked about what it was like when Nickelodeon took over their school. But wait a minute, this turned around for a sec. I'm interviewing you. What is it about Wheel of Fortune? What is it about Wheel of Fortune that makes it, even though you don't watch that much TV anymore, you still make time for Wheel? What is it about the show that attracts you to it?
Well, I think, it started when I was little. I mean, there's a lot of things on the show that just kind of attract toddlers and young children into watching it. I think it's really good for new parents to introduce their children to it because there's just a lot of stuff that can appeal to a young child. You have the wheel, which has a bunch of bright colors on it. It goes around. It makes noises.
Yeah, very fun noises.
The people clap. It also teaches you your letters and your numbers because a contestant will say T, and then you'll see the T lit up on the board. So now you know what the letter T looks like, what it sounds like. You know what a word looks like. And because contestants are told to enunciate, they pronounce their letters and their words very slowly and loudly. It's just a great learning tool for children to help learn their alphabets and words growing up. And that really helped me because I had a decent level of reading skills before I turned 2 years old, thanks to Wheel of Fortune.
I've heard people say that, but it usually ends with thanks to Sesame Street. You're saying thanks to Wheel of Fortune.
Yes. But
now, presumably, you're 23 years old. You're probably pretty good at reading, I'm going to guess. Why are you still watching the show? Is it like one of those comfort food things, maybe?
Yeah. Well, most of the time it is. I mean, but usually at least once a week there's going to be times where I'm screaming at the TV, like, how did you not get that bonus puzzle? It was so obvious!
So you're still into it, you could say,
Oh, yeah, of course.
And at what point did you decide, I'm going to try to get on the show? Is that, always been a dream?
Oh, always, of course. It's just that obviously you need to wait until you're a certain age.
How old? I mean, I guess you don't see kids very often on the show, so I knew you have to be a certain age. But how old do you have to be?
Generally, you have to be 18.
And have you been trying to get on since you were 18?
Since 19, yeah, because that was the first time, an opportunity came for me to try out was when I was 19, yes.
So, walk me through this. How does one end up on Wheel of Fortune?
There's a bunch of different ways. Well, there's 2 different ways to get on the show. The first way is there's a tour of traveling open auditions around the country called the Wheelmobile.
Can I just point out that Wheelmobile is what you could just call a car?
Yeah, well, the thing is, it's like a big yellow Winnebago with Pat and Vanna on it and the logo and everything. They tour the country and they go to local shopping malls and casinos. They just try to gather a crowd and they just get people's names and they audition them to check their stage presence and their competence in calling letters. They draw names. It's mostly a random drawing, so they draw names and you go on a stage and you're interviewed by this really energetic guy who kind of acts as a stand-in Pat Sajak.
Sure.
You just talk a little about yourself, show off any talents you have if you like to sing or dance or whatever, and then you play a mock puzzle with a few other people on the stage just to see how good you are at the game. You call your letters clearly, you don't repeat letters. The tour goes pretty much year round. Is it okay if I plug another site on this?
Oh yeah, of course.
I help run a fan site for Wheel of Fortune. It's called Buy a Vowel Boards. It's buyavowel.boards.net. And one of the threads we have on that site, lately we've been really popular with people who have earned auditions and have just gotten on the show and looking for tips and stuff. One of our threads actually keeps track of where the Wheelmobile is going to be because they only let people know in that certain area. So if you live in, say, Oklahoma, for example, you'll know the Wheelmobile is coming to you. But if you wanted to go 2 states away to a Wheelmobile in wherever, like New Mexico, you're not going to find out about that unless you do your research. So we kind of save the hard work for that, and we just let them know, hey, the Wheelmobile is going to be here at the end of the month, and that kind of thing.
Well, we're going to get back to the fact that you run a Wheel of Fortune website, by the way, but while we're talking about the audition process, and I guess you don't really know because you're on the other side of it, but do you think they're looking for people who are going to be engaging on TV and fun to watch and lively contestants, or are they looking for skill? Because I know with Jeopardy, that there's like a skill and you have to be able to answer a certain number of questions because, you could be terrible at Jeopardy. Like most people on Jeopardy would never get any questions right. But most people can at least play a little Wheel of Fortune, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, for Jeopardy, I do think they really go mostly for skill. But for Wheel, it seems to be a sort of a balance between skill and just engaging in your fun personality. And there is more to the audition process than what I just described. That's only the first half of it. So if you do well at the Wheelmobile event, or you get picked, or you can also apply on wheeloffortune.com and upload a 1-minute audition video where you talk about yourself. So if they like you, they will invite you to a private audition in your city or in your nearest major city, and they just go around the room and they play mock puzzles to see how good you are at calling letters and just how loud you are, how fun you are. And then they give you a written test of partially filled puzzles that you have to fill in. You have to fill in 16 puzzles in 5 minutes. It's really not a lot of time. And then if you do well at that audition, you'll get a letter in the mail in 2 weeks saying you've been selected to be on the show and that you'll get called with a taping date sometime within the next 18 months.
How many times did you have to audition? You've been trying to do this since you were 19 and you're 23 now, so it sounds like you must have had to take several runs at it.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I think if you're really serious about getting on Wheel of Fortune, you definitely should make a real effort, because I live in New York, so New York is actually a very popular market for Wheel of Fortune fans. So they don't really bring the Wheelmobile here very much. Sometimes you got to go like a couple states away. Sometimes we would take road trips. The first time I tried out, it was for a Wheelmobile in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, which is about 2.5 hours away from here. And I did make the final audition for that, so we had to go back to Wilkes-Barre about 2 months after that. And so we drove back to Wilkes-Barre. It went really well. I made it to the end. Unfortunately, I didn't get the letter for some reason, but that just pretty much told me, just think about what you might have done wrong, and then you'll do better next time. You'll get another chance. Obviously, not everybody makes the first audition. There have been people who've auditioned for 10 years before they've made it on the show.
And when you're thinking, I want to be on Wheel of Fortune, are you thinking that you want to try to win a lot of money on Wheel of Fortune, or is it just like a dream to be on a contestant on this show that you've been watching your whole life?
I think it's a bit of both, because obviously everybody wants to do really well on Wheel of Fortune, but it's all about the experience. It's not just about how many puzzles you solve or how much money you win.
Right. It's a whole thing, and you're obviously a big fan of it. So much so that you started or helped manage a website.
I helped manage it. I did not start it, no.
How long? Okay, because you were like, yeah, I watch Wheel of Fortune a few times a week, but you did not disclose that you're running a fan site called By a Vowel. How long have you been doing that?
Well, I first joined the site. The site was started in 2009. It wasn't very popular, obviously. It was pretty much just started by this one guy and like his little group of friends who'd post every now and then. But then it kind of grew, and I joined in 2010, and we just, as the years have progressed, we just became more and more popular with the dedicated Wheel of Fortune fans out there, and also contestants, because we post recaps of every episode the night after they air. And sometimes contestants will be like, hey, thank you all for the nice comments. This is what I was thinking. This was an amazing experience. We've been getting a lot of contestant members lately. We used to only get maybe about 5 or 6 contestant members a season. Now, for this season alone, we have at least 20 or so. I don't know the exact number, but...
And I guess, what do you guys talk about? Because everyone knows Wheel of Fortune. Everyone's seen Wheel of Fortune. So everyone knows the basic format of the show. But what are you guys talking about, on a day-to-day basis? What is there to discuss about a given Wheel of Fortune? Just contestant performance? Well, what is the conversation usually about?
Well, contestant performance, also things like the puzzles themselves, because sometimes we'll be like, oh, that puzzle was really stupid. Why did they say that? Or oh, I didn't know that word could be spelled as one word, kind of thing. We talk about the bonus round a lot, oh yeah, she didn't stand a chance, or oh, how did she not get that? Oh, these letters would have been better to call than what she called. There is a lot to discuss from just any given Wheel of Fortune episode, even though it doesn't really seem like a game show that people talk about much compared to like Jeopardy, you know.
You're right. I mean, well, give me some basic Wheel of Fortune strategy. Like, what were you thinking just in how to play the game? Like, vowel purchasing, buying a vowel. Like, what's the logic in that? When should you buy a vowel? When shouldn't you?
Whenever you can. Whenever you can buy a vowel and you don't know the answer, just vowels are your friends. Because a lot of people think that's not a good thing to do, but it is. And they really stress that, the contestant coordinators on the show. Because vowels are among the most popular letters in the alphabet, and they only cost $250, and the lowest amount on the wheel is $500. So with any one given consonant, you have enough money to buy 2 vowels. And the thing is, when you call a vowel versus calling a consonant, you're calling... There's 5 vowels, but there's 21 consonants. So you have a much less chance of going wrong with a vowel than you do with a consonant. Plus, vowels fill in a ton of information because you buy an E and there can be like 5 or 6 E's versus like just 1 or 2 R's.
Right. And this is a strategy you developed from years of watching the show and talking about the show, or this is something they told you in a packet before you were on the show?
Both, actually. They do send you a packet with like some tips and things, but they definitely encourage you to buy vowels. And I think that's the reason why they've kept the vowel price at $250, even though inflation has affected the wheel otherwise. Because the lowest value on the wheel is $500 now, but it was obviously much lower in years past. Like it was as low as $100, $150. So sometimes contestants would call a consonant on their first spin, and then Pat would say, "Well, you don't have enough to buy a vowel, so you got to spin again." But that's not the case anymore.
Right. Before we get away from the audition process, I want to ask, for people who are listening and they want to get serious about getting on Wheel of Fortune, what tips would you give for the audition process, just purely for the audition process and getting on the show?
Well, I recommend going to wheeloffortune.com and submitting an audition video. You just make a video of yourself. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. You don't have to use like a green screen or anything like that, or just editing. Just something simple. Just shoot it with your phone, horizontally, of course.
Of course. Thank you.
Yes. Just talk a little about yourself. Be sure to mention your nearest major city, because if I just said I'm from Yorktown Heights, New York, they're going to be like, "Where's that?" "Oh, just outside New York City." "Oh, okay, so we'll choose an audition for him when next time we're in New York City." So yeah, you just talk a little about yourself, what you do. Do you have any wife or children? Kind of like what you would say if you were being interviewed by Pat Sajak on the show.
Right.
And you just kind of talk about why you think you'd be an ideal contestant. And of course, you have to reflect that in your attitude and your voice, but do not say that Wheel of Fortune is on your bucket list. Then they say that on the website too. Don't say that in your video.
Now, what did you say? What did you say was going to make you a great Wheel of Fortune contestant?
I can't really remember, to be honest, because my audition was almost a year ago. I auditioned in June of 2015, the one that got me on the show. I had just graduated college at the time, so I just told them, I just graduated with a degree in whatever, and I just told them what a big fan of the show I was. I also have a few props from the show that I've acquired over the years, so I kind of stood in front of like a wall where I hang them up. And I told them like all the support I've had from my family and friends, because I'm always beating them when we play at home. Did
you have a sense going in that you were going to be able to kind of run the board a little bit?
Not at first. I mean, I just thought I was more prepared than everybody else, but... Because, say, you manage a Wheel of Fortune fan site? Well, that's a part of it, yeah. I actually asked around because we tape the whole week that day. There's 5 weekday episodes in a week of Wheel of Fortunes, and they tape it all at once. So all 15 contestants, plus a couple of alternates, were all sitting in the same room. We just talk amongst ourselves before we do the shows. And I asked a few people, have you seen the fan site by Valboards? And one of them actually did. So, but I mean, if nothing else, like I have to assume, watching Wheel of Fortune and discussing it, like even if you not even visualizing being on the show yet, just paying that close attention to it's got to be a huge leg up on everyone else, right? Oh, definitely. I mean, that's definitely part of what you should do to. That's definitely part of how you ace Wheel of Fortune. You need to know like what the show does, like the common tendencies of the show. You have to spend your entire life watching it. Well, you don't have to spend your entire life watching it, but you should definitely at least spend a few years watching it and just studying it. Like, have you heard of Michael Larson?
Is he possibly the Press Your Luck guy?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, but I've heard of him, but that was even I'm really proud of myself right now. So not everyone's going to know. Walk us through who Michael Larson is.
Well, Michael Larson was an infamous game show contestant who went on the '80s game show Press Your Luck, which is kind of like Wheel of Fortune in the wheel sense, but there's no puzzles or anything.
It's most famous for no whammies, no whammies.
I mean, stop.
It's probably better known as no whammies, no whammies, I think.
Yeah. So what happens is a light bounces around a board of different squares of different dollar amounts and prizes, and there's also a whammy, which is like the bankrupt on Wheel of Fortune. And what Michael Larson discovered was, while watching the show, was that the light, the order of the squares that the light bounced around was not actually random. There actually was a set order to it. Well, depending on like what kind of episode it was, there was a pattern. It was not random. So he taped dozens of episodes and studied them religiously and pretty much exploited it on the show. And CBS, who owned Press Your Luck, they didn't want to pay him his incredible winnings what he did, it wasn't really cheating. So they had no choice. Of course, they had to pay him. He won over $110,000.
And once you get that letter that you're going to be on Wheel of Fortune, you've been a fan your whole life, but then do you start really digging in and like looking at the clues and trying to get a sense of like what the writer's like and the sense of humor of the show? What happens after you get that letter?
You can't really do that once you get the letter, because the thing is what it means is you're in the contestant pool, which means you're going to be given a taping date with 2 weeks notice sometime within the next 18 months. So you could get a taping date the week after or a month later or even not until the year after. You just don't know.
How long was it between when you got the letter and when you were on the show?
Well, I auditioned in New York City on June 11th, 2015, and I got the letter in late June. I believe it was postmarked June 28th or something like that. It was in late June. It was on a Friday. I was actually the only person at home when the mail came and I got it. And then I was given an email saying that they wanted me to tape on January 22nd. So I got that email not too long after New Year's. They only give you about 2 weeks notice for a tape date.
How did you prepare?
Well, the first thing you have to do when you get your tape date is arrange your flight and hotel. They do not cover that.
Oh, wow.
No, they don't. And same story for Jeopardy. No, they just give you like recommended places to stay at.
Shoots in LA?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Most game shows shoot in LA. So once you make those arrangements, that's when the contestant coordinator that has been assigned to you will call you, and they'll just go over some details, and they send you a package of information regarding the categories of the game and some game strategies, and also information about wardrobe and just things you should know before you come to the studio.
What are the notes about wardrobe? That's a good question. How do you pick your wheel outfit?
Well, there's a lot more restrictions for women than there are men.
No logos is going to be one.
Well, obviously, yes. It's business casual. The most popular color that contestants wear, most contestants wear blue, actually, and I wore blue as well. They definitely don't want any whites, no stripes, no fire engine reds.
So these are like technical concerns because like they bounce light or they do that weird zebra thing to the camera. But I don't know. There's no like. Is there a note? Don't show up in a leather vest or something like that.
I don't think so. I mean, I still have that information somewhere. I still have the paperwork somewhere, but I don't remember anything like that. No, they do say things like no jewelry, for example, and no bracelets because it can get caught on the wheel peg.
Oh boy, I would love to have been there the day they had to make that a rule.
I know, right?
Okay, so then you know what you're wearing. I mean, what else do you do to prepare?
Well, you also have to bring a backup outfit just in case there's something wrong or if you spill something on it.
Makes sense.
Right. So in terms of other things you have to prepare, I mean, it's really up to you how much you want to prepare. What most people do is they play one of the many Wheel of Fortune video games out there, like for the iPhone or for the Wii or Xbox.
Did you do that?
Yes, I did.
How does that prepare you? How does that? I mean, obviously, like there's the lights and the stakes, and it can't. I know it's not going to be 100%, but would you recommend that someone who was going to be on the show? Would you say that's a good use of their time?
Definitely, yes. I actually, I have the Wheel of Fortune video game for the Wii U, and what I did was I kind of arranged myself in my room to be kind of standing in a position relative to my TV as if I was looking at the board on the show. And I would like stand up and everything and pretend I was standing at a podium, and I would actually yell out my letters when I chose them on the game.
Just to, get a feel for it. So then, I don't know, work out the kinks, I guess, a little.
Right. And another thing I did was, and there are actually a lot of things you have to be looking at on the show, because you have the wheel in front of you, you have the board, obviously, but what you don't see is that off camera, just to the left of the puzzle board, is the monitor that tells you what letters have not been chosen yet, because you don't want to repeat the letter.
Right. Okay.
They call it the used letter board, even though it's technically more of an unused letter board, because they put all 26 letters up there and they disappear once you choose them. And then on the floor to the left of the wheel is the monitor that shows the contestants' scores. They're displayed right in front of you, but of course we need to know what they are, or if you want to play smartly, you need to know. So you just look to there's a monitor that shows everybody's scores and their totals, so your eyes are kind of darting between those four things: the wheel, the puzzle board, the used letter board, and the scoreboard. And I kind of knew how they were arranged because I've seen pictures of the set. So what I actually did was I went into my parents' bedroom, because it's the biggest room in the house, and I made pieces of poster board to represent all the different monitors, and I would tape them up against the walls in the room in about the same positions, just so that I kind of know, like, what should I look at first, what should I try not to focus on as much. So I basically turned my parents' bedroom into the set for an hour or two.
I mean, probably seemed a little silly then, but when you went that day, I imagine it, it felt pretty good. Were your parents, they must have known that this was they didn't question it. They probably weren't even surprised. Like, they must have known this was what a dream this was for you, right?
Oh, of course, yeah.
How do you prepare mentally, just for the fact that you're going to be, on a TV show? Do you have to psych yourself up at all? Are you used to doing public speaking or being in front of crowds? Because I imagine that could throw you as much as anything, as much as a difficult puzzle.
Well, the thing is, I actually don't really like public speaking or being in front of crowds. But this is just something that I love doing, just playing Wheel of Fortune. I just basically pretended I was playing the video game in front of a few people. I just did what I would normally do when playing the game, or just what I would do. I don't really let it get to me that there's an audience there. I mean, the audience was all cheering me on. They were all happy to see me do well. I mean, I don't really care that there's millions of viewers in America that are probably just finding something to pick on me about. I don't really care. I mean, I'm just playing Wheel of Fortune.
That's almost as impressive as your actual performance. I think not getting psyched out, not getting psyched out by all the, by the situation is probably harder, at least as difficult as the actual game, and just maintaining that sort of, and being present.
Yeah, I mean, it was very, very nerve-wracking. I was shaking the whole time. I felt like I was going to faint at some points. At one point, after I solved one of the puzzles, Pat turns to me and goes, "Are you all right?" And yeah, it definitely was very nerve-wracking, but it was more because of everything was going right for me, not so much because I was in front of a camera.
So, okay, let's dig into the day itself a little bit. You get there, they shoot several shows in a day. What show were you? Did you have to wait all day?
Yes,
that cannot be fun.
Well, actually, it was pretty fun for me, but it was not fun for my parents and my friend Emil, who were in the audience for me. I'll get into that. But every single one of the week's contestants, plus two alternates, they're all driven to the studio, and we get there around 7 a.m., and we fill out a bunch of paperwork, we go over the rules, they have all kinds of refreshments just for us to take as we please, just to help just keep us hydrated, and then we decide who's going to play on. Well, they decide who's going to be on each show, like the groups. Like for example, one group is going to be Robert, Bonnie, and Noelle. Another group is going to be Bill, Emily, and Amanda. That kind of thing. They decide that.
Do you have any insight into how that grouping was done?
Well, it's almost always grouped so that there's two women and one man.
Huh? There's a 2-to-1 female to male ratio on Wheel of Fortune?
Yes. Yes, about twice as many women audition for the show than men do. So almost every episode of Wheel of Fortune is 2 women and 1 man. Sometimes
any guess why that is? I just never would have guessed. Why is that?
I think it's just because back in the day, game shows were known for appealing more to women than men. But yeah, it is true about twice as many women audition for the show than men do, because whenever I've been to Wheelmobiles and final auditions, there were always way more women than there were men. And they recruit, when they recruit each contestant for the taping, they usually do it so that there's 10 women, 5 men. And then they just do 2 women, 1 man for each show. But sometimes they'll call 6 men for the taping, and one show will have 2 men. And of course, certain themes like military weeks will have more men. Sometimes they do Mother's Day and Father's Day weeks. But other than that, yeah, they generally keep it fairly balanced in terms of genders.
And so your episode is finally up. Did you get to meet your rival contestants before the show? Like shake hands, good luck.
Oh yeah, we met everybody all at once, so from every single show, and so you know, once you get to know them really well, it's kind of like oh, I'm playing against you, but there's no hard feelings, okay? And then once they group us, we have to decide which of the 5 shows we're going to be on. So we draw golf balls with numbers 1 through 5 drawn on them in marker. So if you draw number 1, that means your group is going to be on the Monday show, 2 means you're going to be on Tuesday, and I drew 5, which meant we were going to be on Friday, and we were the very last show to be taped that day. And we had no way of telling our supporters in the audience, so they would not know until they saw us on the stage.
So they're sitting there, they watched 5 Wheel of Fortune episode tapings.
Yes.
Yeah, I can see that getting a little repetitive. But then you finally get out there. The show begins. You got the first puzzle, if I'm not mistaken, with just 1 letter, right?
Right.
So this first puzzle, for those that haven't seen Wheel of Fortune in a while, there's a toss-up round now. Could you explain how the toss-up round works?
How the toss-up round works is it's how they start off the show. There are 3 toss-ups every show. They start off with 2 of them. The first one, it determines simply who gets interviewed first, and they get $1,000. But how toss-ups work is the puzzle shows up on the board like any other puzzle, and then the letters come up one by one at random. And each contestant is holding a buzzer, kind of like on Jeopardy. And once you think you know the answer, you press your buzzer, and then the letters stop filling in, and then you say your answer. And if you're right, then, you know, you get the money and you get that privilege of being interviewed first. Or if you get the second one, it's $2,000 and you start round 1. And then the third one is played before round 4, and that's worth $3,000. And if you get it wrong, then you're locked out. You can't buzz in again, and then it just keeps filling in until somebody can get it.
All right, and this first toss-up puzzle, you solved it when this is the puzzle on the board, and people that actually follow our instructions and paused and watched the video will know this. Blank, 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 and blank, 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 D. So there's 1 letter all the way at the end, D. There's an ampersand, I don't know how you say that word, in the middle.
Ampersand.
So blank and blank D, you immediately buzz in and identify it as port and starboard. How did this happen?
Well, the first toss-up on just about every episode of Wheel of Fortune these days, it has to do with the theme of the week. Every week on Wheel of Fortune has a theme. I forget what this week's theme is. I could turn on the TV right now, every week has a theme. Sometimes it's college week or military week or beach week kind of thing. Our week was a cruise week sponsored by Carnival Cruises. It was called Spin and Sail. So I just had to think of common sailing terms and cruise terms, boats, and that was very lucky because that was the only one I predicted that came up all week.
So you just had a list of phrases that you anticipated might come up on a nautical episode of Wheel of Fortune, and one of them was port and starboard. So you saw that puzzle and it's just like, ding, I got it.
Yes, I actually had a feeling it was that before the white blanks and the ampersand even came up. Because on the used letterboard, they tell you what the category is. Because you can just listen to Pat and hear him say the category is places. But I just chose to look at the monitor and I see places. And I think, oh, I wonder, is it going to be port and starboard? And then I look at the board and then, you know, they do the do-do-do-do. and I see the ampersand, 4 letters, 9 letters. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is it. It's port and starboard. And Vanna always, you can't buzz in until the first letter is revealed. And Vanna always starts off with the rightmost letter. So I knew that the first letter that Vanna reveals has to be a D. So I just have my buzzer ready, my thumb ready, and I just think, let's just make sure that's a D. And as soon as that comes up, just hit the buzzer.
Have you seen that before on Wheel of Fortune? I don't watch as much Wheel of Fortune as you, but I, as far as I know, I've never seen anyone solve a puzzle that early. Is that uncommon?
Generally, yes. However, like I said, the $1,000 toss-up is always themed, and sometimes they can be very predictable. It's definitely not the first time that somebody has done that on a $1,000 toss-up. Like, for example, a few years ago, they taped a few special episodes on location in New York City, which I was in the audience for. And on the very first show, the $1,000 toss-up was Landmark. And I'm going to kind of do what you did. It was blank, 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 and then another word, blank F, and then blank, 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 blank. You think Landmark, New York City, the 2-letter word in the middle with an F in it. What do you think it could be?
Statue of Liberty?
Right, exactly. So as soon as Vanna touched the rightmost letter, which was the F, the contestant buzzed in right away and got it.
Yeah, I guess, like, Statue of Liberty in New York it feels a little more obvious than Port and Starboard, you know, which makes your moment just seem that more remarkable. But that's the only nautical-themed puzzle, right? Like, that's the only one where you had it in your pocket.
Generally, yes, because that was the only nautical-themed puzzle. And also the prize puzzle, which is because the prize puzzles were Carnival Cruise sponsored. So some of those had to do with nautical terms as well. Although for me, it more applied to just Carnival Cruise than just nautical in general. It was exhilarating water slide, which of course you could find on a Carnival Cruise.
Right, right. Well, what about there was one that was O blank 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 T A blank 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 blank. You correctly identified it as "Oh, what a night!" Like, how do you? I mean, I guess I'm just wondering, like, what's going through your head when you're playing Wheel of Fortune, you see the blanks on the board. How do you get there so quickly?
Well, you got to know the category. In this case, it was song lyrics. What really did it for me was the H in the first word, because it was blank H and it's song lyrics, so it has to be the word O. So you think, oh, what, and then what could the rest be? And then you see the single blank, so that has to be either A or I. So O blank A blank, and then I see the T. Just think maybe oh what, and then oh what blank, oh what, oh it's oh what a night. I know that song. And then
so it's not magic. It's just you're just working the problem.
Right.
What was the most difficult puzzle, the most challenging one that you solved that night?
Out of the ones that I solved, probably, let's see, I'm trying to think. Probably the third toss-up, which was rhyme time, and the answer was easy breezy. And if you look closely on the easy breezy puzzle, we all buzz in, all 3 of us, at almost the exact same time.
Because this is one of the toss-ups.
Yes.
So that wasn't even challenging to get. It was just that everyone else got it too, and it was a race to see who was going to get it first.
Well, yes, and also because rhyme time is kind of a tricky category, because sometimes it'll just be something completely arbitrary, like, oh, they obviously just threw this together to make it sound cute, and oh, because it rhymes. Like, they had also used rhyme time on the Monday episode of Our Week, and the answer was old folks and artichokes.
Right, which is not a thing anyone has ever said.
Exactly.
Like, you Googled that and 0 results, you know?
Except for Wheel of Fortune recap.
Well, now there's some results. Now you go to buyvowel.net. But
we do that all the time, actually. Every time we see a puzzle that we just think is ridiculous, we put it in Google in quotation marks, and at the time we'll get 0 results, and then we Google it after the show, and all the results are relevant to Wheel of Fortune.
So now you're winning. Are you having fun? Is it all you dreamed you would be? Like, this should be it. Are you enjoying yourself while you're up there?
Oh, of course, yes. I do kind of feel bad for the other 2 contestants, and I was glad that I was actually glad I didn't completely sweep the game, and that Bonnie at the red podium, she was able to get something at least, because I wanted them to have a chance, and they did get a few chances here and there, but generally it just didn't really work out, because Bonnie kept getting bankrupt, and Noelle at the yellow podium, she just kept calling wrong letters.
Well, that's kind of a funny. There is like this. I always imagine there's this weird social dynamic on game shows where it's just like friendly thing, and you're like no hard feelings. But there's like a lot of money at stake. You guys are competing for $100,000 maybe? Like, people will do terrible things to each other for $50,000 or $100,000, you know?
Right.
Like I play board games with people. Some people are miserable to play board games with, and they take that too seriously. So I can only imagine, like, the people that come through game shows where, I mean, there's no stakes for a board game when, like, actually $100,000 or whatever, just a decent chunk of change is on the line. I can imagine that could bring out some bad feelings, but at least on the show, everyone, I think they look disappointed, but I don't think anyone's mad at you, and it seems like they're taking it well.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, with Wheel of Fortune, it's all about the experience. I mean, you should just be glad that you made it on the show, period, and you're meeting Pat Sajak, and you're on a stage, and you're playing the game on national TV. I mean, it's really all about that. I mean, you want everybody to do well, and that's part of what they look for. They want people who have good sportsmanship. They don't want people who start banging their fists when they get bankrupt, or like just giving the other players dirty looks. And
yeah, it's amazing you don't see that more on game shows, considering, I guess, like, I'm thinking, like, I guess I've never really seen that on a game show. Like, I can't recall ever seeing a contestant give another contestant a dirty look, which is incredible considering, like, the amount of money that they're competing over.
Right, because it's just the atmosphere. Everybody's in the same room, and they're all just having fun. Like, for example, on The Price is Right, there's always that moment where somebody will bid $1 more than the person.
It's really sticking your thumb in the eye of the person next to you.
Yeah, and usually when that happens, the people will just be like, "Oh, come on!" They'll be like playful about it. They'll be like, "Oh, I should have seen that coming." Like, they'll just laugh it off. They won't. It's not like on the Family Guy parody where they curse them out.
Right. Yeah. I guess I don't know if I've been to a game show taping, but I've seen similar things, and I think that speaks to a lot of the skill behind the scenes of the producers and the people they employ, and making sure that it is, despite all the high stakes and this weird situation, that it is a fun environment and that everyone's having fun on camera.
Exactly, yes. You definitely should try to go to a game show taping if you can, like for any game show. They do a very good job in just making you feel comfortable.
Well, now, what about Pat Sajak? Because he's kind of needling you a little bit on the episode. Like he seems, I don't know. He seems a little. I mean, he seems mad, but also like it's stage mad. What kind of vibe were you getting from him?
It is stage mad. I mean, that's just how he is. Pat Sajak is like the deadpan, the tag.
Yeah, he really. I mean, you're doing something unprecedented on that show, and he's very much underplaying it. Like, he's not freaking out at all.
Yeah, like when people win the $100,000 or the $1 million in the bonus round, Pat won't really have like an excited OMG facial expression. He'll usually just kind of stay deadpanned, or sometimes he'll like kind of react to the person. He'll kind of react like his ears blew out from the person screaming. But he's not like the kind of host that like jumps around and just as excited as the contestant does.
Yeah,
that's just how he is, and it's just kind of a persona he has. But he definitely knows when to be joking and when not to be joking to contestants. Like off camera, if a contestant is doing bad, he'll always try to console them, just give them advice, he gives us all pep talks. He knows what he's doing, and he knows when to joke and when not to joke. Like at one point, we were getting ready for the third toss-up. We had to have our buzzers. We were holding our buzzers before the camera started rolling, and then he tells Bonnie and Noelle, the other two ladies, he goes, "You got those detonators ready? Are you guys ready to blow up Robert?"
So he's just like, he's making a little sport of it. I mean, his job was probably as difficult that day as it ever was, just like, keeping that spirit up. And it sounds like he did a good job of it.
Oh yeah, definitely. He was actually really impressed, even though a lot of people thought he was annoyed with me just based on like what you've seen in that video. He was very impressed. I mean, we talked off camera. He would go like, "How did you think about choosing those letters for the bonus puzzle?" And we just talked about our strategies.
I want to know what Pat Sajak wanted to know. What were the letters you chose for the bonus puzzle, and how did you pick them?
Well, the category for the bonus puzzle, it was things, and they gave you RSTLNE, and all the letters they gave me were in the second word. It was a T. It was blank 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 T blank RES, and I knew right away the word is pictures. And you only get 3 consonants and a vowel, so you can't waste your picks on something that you already know is there. It's not like the regular rounds where you keep going when you get it right. You gotta choose wisely. Because on one of the shows earlier our week, a contestant called the letters that he knew were there from RSTLNE, even though he didn't know the puzzle. And then he only lit up those obvious letters and like one other one, and he didn't get the puzzle, and he lost $50,000. So what I had to do was I had to make sure I did not choose P or C or I or U for the vowel, because I was going to choose something along the lines of G, H, P, and O, because those are the most popular letters in bonus puzzles right now, not C, D, M, A, or what you might think, because they want people to think that. People call C, D, M, A all the time, and it rarely ever helps them out, even though they seem like popular letters.
Wow. Good analysis.
A lot of the things puzzles on the show, it's often an adjective and then a noun right after it. And sometimes they can just be very archaic. Like one time they had favorite mug as a bonus puzzle. I'm just like, what? Like that's obviously you just threw that together just to make it hard. And they had wacky neighbor ones as a person puzzle. And amazingly, the contestant actually got that, which was amazing. And, so I knew the word before pictures was probably an adjective that ended in Y. So I called Y, and then I did that to replace the P in pictures. So I didn't call P, and so I called G and H, and then O for the vowel, because O is the most popular vowel in bonus puzzles. And then I see Gooy, and then the whole thing is just obvious. It's Goofy Pictures. And I had no idea. And everybody was asking me as soon as the cameras were off, did you know it before you picked those letters? And I'm just like, no, I was just really lucky.
Yeah, that was your day.
Yeah, and Pat and I were talking during the credit sequence. I was telling him, no offense, but those puzzles can be, those adjective noun puzzles can be really hard sometimes. And he's like, oh, no offense, I agree. And we were the last show to tape that day, so we left along with most of the crew. And my friends and my parents, we were just walking around the lot taking pictures, and Pat drove by us in his Porsche, and he rolled down the window and said, good job, Robert, and drove off.
So he gets it.
Oh, yeah, he definitely gets it. Well, of course, he's been hosting the thing for like almost 35 years now.
Yeah, if he's not good at hosting Wheel of Fortune by now, like, he needs to get another job. Like, that'd be insane. He's probably hosted thousands and thousands of Wheel of Fortunes. What about Vanna? Did Vanna have any commentary?
Yes, she did, actually. As soon as they brought me to center stage, at the end of the show, during the credit sequence, the winner of the game always just has a chat with Pat and Vanna. And they brought me to center stage, and Vanna goes, Robert, you're amazing.
Pat keeps kind of expecting you to get it. Like, he's like, all right, Robert, tell us what it is. Does that put extra pressure on you? Like, if you don't get it at that point, the stakes are actually, I think, even higher for you than they would be for a normal contestant.
No, those comments really didn't bother me much. I mean, it is kind of amusing watching at home when Pat will think the contestant knows it and then they don't. But I was really never in that situation, except maybe on the 3 Wishes puzzle, which was the final regular puzzle, and it was in the speed-up mode, where I called a T. And I think Pat and a lot of the viewers are probably expecting me to know it, but I didn't. So I just stood there and just kind of stared at it and just thought about what could go there. And then so they buzzed me out because I couldn't figure it out. And then the girl after me, Bonnie, she called an N. There was no N. And at that point, I figured out what it was, and I made like a face that showed that I knew what the answer was. So that's when, as soon as it got back to me, Pat is like, Robert.
All told, end of the day, how much did you win?
I won a total of $76,086. Out of that, $64,000 was cash, and the rest of it was from 2 cruises that I won.
You won 2 Carnival cruises because it was Carnival Cruise Week. When are you taking them?
One of them I'm taking in November, and the other one I am taking sometime next year, but we haven't worked out the details for that one yet.
I guess it's, the obvious comparison, which I'm sure other people have made to you, would be Ken Jennings, right? Like, are you the Ken Jennings of this now?
Well, unfortunately, we can't find out for sure because Wheel doesn't do returning champions anymore.
Right. Whereas Ken, Jeopardy does, so he had his thing was like a nice long run there.
Yeah, I've actually been compared to a lot of game show legends, which was actually very flattering for me. Like, yeah, Ken, and also Michael Larson, as we talked about earlier. Mm-hmm. and also Roger Craig, who is a famous Jeopardy contestant. He has his own Wikipedia article. He kind of did what I did, but obviously on a much more impressive scale. He did research on the most common Jeopardy categories, among many other impressive things that most Jeopardy contestants wouldn't research. So yeah, I've been compared to him and Ken. I really think I could be the Ken of Wheel if they did returning champions. They don't do that anymore, but even when they did, they only had a limit of 3 days.
Well, maybe, even after Ken Jennings was off the show, he came back, to compete with Watson and other special events. And I feel like the interesting thing about your clip is it went really viral. Like Wheel of Fortune clips don't often go viral. They air a show every single day, and you don't often hear about it.
Not for the right reasons, anyway. Usually every month or two there'll be a ridiculous missolve that'll go viral. But yeah, not often does Wheel go viral for something good.
So maybe there's something in the future where you fight a computer or something. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here.
What's actually interesting is I live in the same town as the Watson IBM Research Center where they tape those Jeopardy episodes. So I actually saw a joking conspiracy theory online that I was Watson in disguise.
That's funny. I have to assume computers are pretty good at Wheel of Fortune. It seems pretty simple for a computer to crack.
Yeah, I mean, all they have to do is just give Watson a robotic arm to spin the wheel.
Right. What is it like? Tell me what it's like to spin the wheel. What's that feeling like?
Well, it's heavy. It's definitely very heavy. They do that on purpose so that you don't spend all that time waiting for the wheel to slow down. You don't really think much of it, but there's an etiquette to it. You have to grab it as far out as possible. Then you have to turn a pushing motion into a pulling motion. You also have to make sure you grab only the top part of the peg. Otherwise, the flipper, the little white thing that makes the clicky noise and points to what you land on, otherwise it's going to snap against your hand and it can hurt. And I like to compare it to maybe pulling a grocery cart stocked completely full of heavy items, just trying to throw it across the store. I actually sometimes like to do that when we go to BJ's Wholesale or something like that.
Right.
It's about the same. But what I did was, and not a lot of contestants do this, but I actually tried to make sure of where my next spin was going to land based on how strong I spin the wheel.
How do you do that? Just, you see where the big number is and you try to get it all the way around as much as you can? Because you have to do one full spin, right?
No, that's only on Price is Right. In fact,
excuse me.
Yeah, in fact, it's not even possible most of the time to get a full spin. I never got a full revolution on the wheel, and obviously neither did the two women on the show. Not often do people get it all the way around. You just need to make it look full. You can't finesse it and try to get it to move the 5,000 wedges, just 5 wedges counterclockwise. Let me just try to push it just a little bit to aim it. Yeah, obviously you can't do that.
You got to give it some effort. A good honest try.
Right, a good, honest try. That's the perfect way to describe it. It's not so much trying to aim for the big numbers, but you're just trying to avoid the bankrupts and loser turns.
Right.
And the best thing to strategize for that is to know the arrangement of wedges. So I know the order of the wedges, the dollar amounts, in order on the wheel. So
just right now you could recite them for me.
I could if you wanted me to.
Yeah, give me just a sample. I'd love to hear it.
Okay, so for round 4, that's when all the extras are stripped off the wheel, and the top value is 5,000. So going clockwise from 5,000. 5,500, 600, 700, 600, 650, 700, 500. Yeah, like that.
All right, I believe you. Do you have any plans for the prize money?
Mostly paying off student loans, and also just leasing a car of my own.
But what about one crazy purchase, like a BMW or a jacuzzi?
I might just go crazy in Vegas.
A Wheel of Fortune slot machine, perhaps?
Oh, definitely.
Right. I feel like you gotta hit that. Do you have the money already? How does that work?
No, they don't pay you until about 120 days after your show airs, so 4 months. So I'm not going to get paid until late July.
How long was it between taping and airing?
We taped the episode on January 22nd. We taped the whole week, January 22nd of 2016, and the episodes aired between March 21st and 25th of 2016. So, it varies because they don't tape the episodes in the weeks in the order they air, but on average, it's about 2 months.
Was it hard? You knew for 2 months that you had totally killed at Wheel of Fortune, and I have to assume you couldn't tell anyone. Was that a difficult secret to keep?
Oh, definitely. Yes, because obviously once you get back, this goes for any Wheel of Fortune contestant. When you come back from LA, everybody's going to go, so how'd you do? Can you tell us? Can you at least, like, did you, and right when we got out of the show, my sister was texting me, did you win at least 10,000? Did you win 25,000, 50,000? I just keep telling her, I can't tell you.
But your parents were there. Your parents also didn't tell her?
Nope.
Wow.
They were very good at keeping the secret.
Wow.
My brother-in-law actually tried to tell me, like, oh, your mom already told us, so you can tell us. And then my sister's like, no, she didn't.
Did you have a party the night the episode aired?
Oh, yes, we did. We had about 30 people over at the house. We had people come from all over the area. It was a total blessing because we had all my friends and family, including some that I hadn't seen in quite a long time. I had a few coworkers over, and we all just gathered around our huge TV and we watched the show together. I actually videotaped all our reactions to it too.
Oh, you got to put that on your YouTube channel. That'll be so fun.
I still have to edit it all together.
Yeah,
but
that'll be really fun. I would love to watch that. That sounds really fun.
I actually did record the reactions to the bonus round off of my phone, and I put it on Wheel of Fortune's Facebook page. It's buried somewhere there, but it's so satisfying to watch just everybody just get up on their feet and start screaming. And it's just a total blessing just to see everybody supporting me. And then after the show, we go online and we see like, oh, this Robert guy on Wheel of Fortune is amazing. We see all these really funny tweets.
Right. So the clip went kind of viral. Like, did that catch you off guard?
Yes, it did, especially because it didn't go viral until the week afterwards, because it aired on Friday night, and it was preempted in a lot of cities by March Madness, or a lot of people were watching March Madness otherwise.
Instead of Wheel of Fortune? Come on!
But yeah, because I was wondering, like, I wonder if this is going to go viral. I mean, if anything, there'll probably be a little buzz over the fact that I got the first toss-up with one letter, and then I was on... it started going viral on the 30th, March 30th. I guess that was a Monday or Tuesday. Let me see. Oh, it was a Wednesday, actually. It was the Wednesday after the show aired. So it took a while for them to catch on, because I figured, if anything, people will talk about it on Monday, because that's when the news shows start reporting it. Right. And so there was nothing of it. Easter went by. I got a couple, at church, I had a couple come up to me and be like, hey, congratulations Friday night, you did amazing. That was pretty satisfying. But after Easter, I'm like, well, that's it. Nobody really... I mean, a few people talked about it, but that's fine, because I'm not really the kind of person that wants to be famous. But then on Wednesday, somebody told me that somebody posted the video Wheel posted on Reddit. And I see it's on Reddit videos, and I'm just like, oh no, this is going to go viral, isn't it? It's going to end up being upvoted to death. It's going to be at the top of Reddit videos. It's going to be on the front page. And then all the news shows and talk shows are going to pick up on it. And then I see Wednesday night that Fox Sports did a story on it. And that's when I realized, oh great, Fox Sports, now it's going to be Fox News, then CNN, then Good Morning America, then, oh no.
But that's good, right? What was the... I guess, actually, I should, let me back up. Sudden viral fame, not always a good thing. Was that a fun experience for you?
Well, I think overall it was. I mean, the thing is, I was just trying not to be too sucked into it, because obviously there were all these pages posting stories about it, which obviously meant people were going to post comments and talk about it and stuff.
And everyone's always really nice in the comments, right? For
the most part, yes. And that's just all I try to focus on, because you know how the internet is.
Yeah, I'm kidding. There's terrible people out there.
They'll find anything about any person just to make themselves feel better. They'll just find something to put them down about, like oh, that girl is so fat, ha ha ha, that kind of thing.
Right. But I mean, I think watching the clip, there's a lot of fun in that clip, and there's a lot of positivity, and it seems like there was a lot of positivity around the discussion online. I mean, it's like you said, everyone knows Wheel of Fortune. Even if you I don't remember ever learning the rules or anything. You're just kind of born into it in this country.
Yeah.
And so I think everyone, I don't know. It's just talking about Wheel of Fortune just brings out a lot of positivity, I think.
Yeah, especially because typically when Wheel of Fortune goes viral, it's for a dumb answer or something like that. But right. I just felt really good that I was able to give Wheel some positive publicity for a change.
Right. I mean, this is probably the biggest Wheel episode in quite some time, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think so. I mean, I think it'd be even bigger if Wheels had returning champions and tournaments and stuff. Who knows?
Hint, hint, Pat Sajak.
Well, the staff, the contestant coordinators, they were pretty interested in doing something like that because my friend who was in the audience, who you see in the video, because you see my parents run on stage, and then you see this young man in a blue shirt. He's my friend Emil, and he is actually also a viral Wheel of Fortune star.
Really? Was he the one when you said we were auditioning? Was he the one who was he auditioning with you?
No, he was on the show 2 years before I was.
Oh, I see.
But you might remember this. 2 years ago, there was a contestant who solved the bonus round, New Baby Buggy, and all they had were the N and E in new, and they had no other letters.
Oh, wow. So your friend did that too? What are you guys talking about? How is this? Is he just like you and just grew up loving the show?
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow. So you have this Wheel of Fortune viral friendship.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well, the thing is, once my show aired, I became friends with all these former and upcoming Wheel of Fortune contestants. We're all just one big family. Like I just became friends on Facebook, and also we just talk on Buy a Vowel boards. We're all members of the site, and we just talk about our personal lives. We just become like real friends. We're just all family, and I find comfort in speaking to them because I just was trying not to log on to social media so much when I was blowing up because I was tired of seeing myself everywhere. But they were just kind of just helping me find comfort and just being like, oh, don't worry about all this. Just we're all proud of you. I actually had to stop visiting Reddit because my inbox was so flooded. I was getting so many comment replies. I had to stop replying to comments because I was getting so many of them. I mean, regardless of whether they were nice or not, I was just looking at PMs, and that's how you reached out to me.
It is, so I'm glad that mine got through.
Yeah, especially because you did it after everything died down.
Yes, that was strategic on my part.
Well, I applaud you on that.
Thank you. When you're playing the game, are you at all tempted to, keep spinning and press your luck and, just keep guessing letters? Once you know the answer, what's that math between, balancing solving it, locking it down, getting the points versus keep spinning, getting letters, running up your score?
That's actually a very good question. Well, it depends on where you are in the game at that point. Like, are you in the lead by a huge margin? It also depends on how many letters are left in the puzzle. Like, for example, if there's 4 S's left and they haven't been called yet and you know the answer, spin the wheel and call those 4 S's and get all the money you could get from those S's. Or if you're ahead by $20,000 like I was and you know the puzzle, why not just spin and just keep calling constants? Because if there's not that many left, it's not like they can catch up. Because that's actually what I did on one of the puzzles. If you see the Wheels video, you'll see the Living in the Moment puzzle. I filled that in completely. And I had it about halfway filled at one point, and I knew what the answer was. I knew there were 2 M's left, and all the other letters left were only just up there once. So I said, one more spin. I spun the wheel, hoping for the 5,000 because I was near it. It overshot it and went to bankrupt. And so I did get bankrupt. I was not a total clean sweep. But then I thought, this is a good thing because now the Bonnie and Noelle have another chance. But then Bonnie got bankrupt, and then Noelle called R, which wasn't there. And at this point, all that was left were the 2 M's and the L and the V. So I just figured there's not much money to be earned from those letters anyway. I'll just play the round out, just spin for all of them. And if I get bankrupt again, then fine. We'll just let Bonnie have another solve. I don't care. I'm already ahead. I'm probably going to win anyway.
These skills you're talking about, and you're talking about how you did on the show, I assume they would translate to other game shows. You sound like you'd be pretty good on other game shows, too. Are you thinking about that yet?
Definitely. They're actually having a revival of the classic game show Pyramid. Remember Pyramid?
Sure, like the $10,000 and the $100,000 pyramid, right?
$100,000 pyramid. There's actually a revival of that coming up. It's already taping. It's going to be on ABC this summer. It's going to start as a 10-episode special stint on Sunday nights, but they're hoping that it gets picked up for a regular daytime show after that. And if it does, I'm definitely going to try out for that because it is a word association game, and I think I'd be pretty good at that. But I do have to... you have to wait about a year after your Wheel episode airs before you can be on another game show. So that's why I can't audition for it now.
I guess I got to ask, what do you do when you're not, studying Wheel of Fortune? On the show, I think you mentioned that you just graduated and you were looking for full-time work, but then just now you mentioned you had some coworkers.
Well, at the time the show aired, I was working retail. Obviously, I left once I won big on the show.
Sure.
But and everybody was really happy for me, so it was great to see all their support as well. So I left on perfectly good terms at the retail job. But shortly after that, actually no, before the show aired, I got a job at a school as an IT assistant, and it's actually where I went to high school. So that kind of gave me an edge, and it's 2 minutes from my house, and it pays really well, and most of my old teachers are still there, so it's great.
I mean, were you like a minor celebrity at the school after this happened?
Yeah, a lot of the students were just coming up to me and going like, hey, that was amazing. And a lot of the teachers were saying like, I watched your episode. You did amazing. I can't believe it. One student said it was the most incredible thing he'd ever seen.
Well, I mean, I thought it was really impressive. And like, it's crazy hearing you talk about it just because it's so inevitable when you talk about it. It's like, yeah, of course you were good at it. You've been preparing for this. Not explicitly, like you weren't like trying to prepare for this your whole life, but you kind of did, you know, whether you were trying to do it or not. So like, yeah, of course you killed at it. That's what makes it even more fun and satisfying to watch, you know?
Yeah, I think it's just mainly because I have an eye for detail. So when you pay close attention to the little details that like most regular or like casual viewers of Wheel of Fortune don't pay attention to, that gives you an edge. And it's the same thing with other game shows, as we were talking about earlier. Like The Price is Right has a lot of little unwritten rules in some of their pricing games that only true fans of the show will know about. And that's something I'd like to do as well. I'd love to go to Price is Right and maybe get one of those games and just show me what I'm made. Show them what I'm made of.
Right. Well, Robert, congratulations! Not only on winning, but on doing it with style and bringing some positive attention to Wheel of Fortune. In the meantime, very, very cool. One more time, what is the name of the Wheel of Fortune fan site that you run, where people can go check out episode by episode recaps?
It's called By a Vowel Boards, and the URL is byavowel.boards.net. And most of the graphic design work on the site, that is actually made by me. Like our header picture, which has pictures of several of our members who have been on the show, that was all compiled by me. And obviously that's not everybody. We have tons of members who have been on the show. I don't know if you're looking at it right now, but that's just it's just to symbolize what a community we are.
That's cool. Yeah, it really does sound like a community, and it's cool that you were able to represent that community in such a great way.
I know. I was just really glad I did the site proud, because I actually didn't tell most of the site. I didn't make like an announcement or anything. I just dropped a little hint the night the show aired. I just said, watch the show tonight and root for the contestant behind the blue podium. That's all I said.
Well, I think it's safe to say you did them proud. I think yeah. You did good both by them and by Wheel itself.
It was unbelievable the traffic our site got after it went viral on Reddit, because I posted a link to the recap on my Reddit comment on the post, and the recap thread, let me see, I'm looking at it has over 150,000 views, and all the other ones are only hovering like around 1,000.
Right. I mean, this is the biggest thing to happen to Wheel of Fortune in some time.
I know, and hopefully Wheel will consider some kind of Tournament of Champions thing, because as I was saying earlier, my friend Emil, who was also gone viral and was in the audience, the head contestant coordinator told him that they should do a show with me and him and another popular contestant.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Like, look, they're trying to get ratings. Like, you're the most popular thing that's happened to the show in a while. I would not be surprised to see it happen. I hope it does happen. When it does, I hope you'll stop by again and tell us about that.
Oh, of course I will. I mean, I would love to. I mean, Jeopardy brings back Ken Jennings and Brad Rutter and popular contestants all the time, so I hope Wheel does that more often now, especially in this age of social media.
Right. Well, Robert, thank you so much for stopping by, laying out your strategy, explaining the whole thing for us tonight.
Well, thank you so much for reaching out to me, Jeff. I really appreciate it.
I'm afraid I have to tell you that is the end of this week's episode. Thank you one more time to Robert. Thank you to Ben for suggesting we have Robert on the show. If you would like to suggest a guest you want to hear on a future episode, or reach out, or just listen to past episodes and you're confused because you don't know how podcasts work, good news. relax. All you have to do is go to jeffrubinshow.com, where you can get every episode of this show for free and all that other stuff I listed. You can also check out my Facebook page. I got a YouTube channel. Ooh, and this is a good time to promote them because since the last episode of this show 2 weeks ago, I actually uploaded a video with my good friend Scott of Scott's Pizza Tours. I don't know if you guys heard about this. This was like a minor media thing a few weeks ago, but there's a pizzeria in New York that now sells a pizza in a pizza box made of pizza. That's right, the box is made of pizza. So it's like it's a pizza contained in inside other pizzas. And we got it. Scott tried it. We made a video about it that is on my YouTube page, on my Facebook page. And let's just leave it there. Vimeo.com/lonelyandhorny. Coupon code HEADGUM. If you like what Jake and Amir have been doing for years, I think you're really going to love this. Thank you for listening. I'll be back in 2 weeks. See you there. Bye.